Every major fintech platform advertises the same thing at the selling point. You can open your account in minutes. Some of them say seconds. And the assumption most people make, because it sounds reasonable, is that this is a sign of quality. An efficient bank is a reliable bank. Speed equals sophistication. It is the exact opposite. And once you understand why, the 5 million account opening stops looking like a feature and starts looking like a warning. I'm Matteo Maglia, Partnership Manager at GloboBanks, the banking introduction company for international entrepreneurs. The clients we work with often comes to us after something went wrong with their previous setup. A blocked transfer at the worst possible moment, an account frozen without explanation. Almost always the underlying issue was the same. The bank had never actually understood who the client was, because they had never taken the time to find out. That is what this video is about. A fintech that opens your account in 5 minutes has spent approximately 5 minutes deciding whether to accept you as a client. What that means in practice, they have confirmed you are not one like a sanction list and that your documents are not obviously fake. That is the entire decision. Where your money comes from, what your business structure looks like, what kind of transaction you typically run, none of that has been evaluated. It gets evaluated later, after you already have deposited your capital. The due diligence does not disappear, it moves. It gets pushed from the beginning of the relationship to the middle of it, at the worst possible time, when you are trying to move money and the platform decides it now needs to understand who you are. The business model for a fast onboarding platform is straightforward. Accept everyone, then filter the problems out afterward. The issue is that when they filter, you are the one who experiences the friction. Your transfer sits blocked while they ask for documents. Your account gets restricted while they run their compliance review. Your problem, their timeline. The best private banks in Switzerland have onboarding processes that takes 4 to 8 weeks for a standard profile. Complex structures, clients with business interest across multiple jurisdictions, or profiles that require enhanced due diligence can take longer, up to 12 weeks. The process includes certified identity documentation, proof of address, 2 to 3 years of tax returns, a complete review of the source of funds, a bank reference, and a compliance officer who reads the full file before any decision is made. This is not slow administration, this is the actual work of understanding who a client is. By the time you are approved at a serious private institution, the relationship manager assigned to your account has read your file. They know what your business does, where your revenue comes from, and what a normal transaction month looks like for you. That understanding has a direct consequence on your daily experience. They do not need to interrogate every payment you make, because they already have a reference point for your activity. A large transfer to a business partner in Singapore does not trigger a freeze, because the bank understands that this is consistent with how you operate. The harder it is to get in, the more protected you are once you are inside. That is not a paradox, that is how risk management works when it is done correctly. Let me give you a concrete example of what happens when it is not done correctly. One of the clients in our network needed to send 20k deposits for a rental property, a standard transaction, nothing remotely unusual for his profile. He was using one of the most widely adopted fintech platforms in Europe, the kind of platform that had taken about 2 minutes to open his account. The transfer was blocked immediately. The platform asked for documentation to justify the payment. He provided it, they asked for more, then they asked for the same documentation again in a different format. Then a different department sent a separate request asking for the same documents the first department has already received. By the time the situation was resolved, weeks had passed. The deadline for the deposit had come and gone. The property was gone. The platform customer service explained that this was standard procedure for transaction above a certain threshold. Nobody had mentioned that when he opened the account in under 2 minutes. The due diligence that should have been happened at the beginning happened at the worst possible moment instead. Before I get into what the regulatory data shows about this pattern and into what actually changes when a bank has done this correctly from the start, the link in the description goes to a free initial consultation with our team. We look at how your current banking setup is structured and tell you honestly where it would hold up and where it would not. come back after. This is not a problem unique to one client or one platform. On April 2, 2026, Italy's competition authority issued a sanction of more than 11 million euros against Revolut. The sanction was divided across three violations: 5 million euros for misleading advertising on investment products, 5 million euros, and this is the official government language, for aggressive management of account blocking and suspension conditions with inadequate notice and inadequate customer assistance, and 1.5 million euros for failing to provide clear information about which IBAN clients were actually receiving. Italy Customers Association collected more than 800 signatures in 1 month for clients reporting blocked accounts. Italy's own antitrust authority, after a formal investigation, concluded in writing that one of Europe's most used fintech platforms had been systematically managing account restrictions in ways that were legally classified as aggressive, without proper notice and without the customer support to resolve them. This is not an edge case, this is what the official records shows. The other side of this, what daily banking actually look like when the institution has done the work upfront, is the part most clients only discover after they have already experienced the alternative. When a serious private bank or an international institution has built a complete picture of who you are before accepting your money, your ongoing relationship with that bank operates completely differently. The relationship manager on your account is a named person reachable by phone who has read your file. If something unusual comes up, they call you and ask. They do not freeze first and investigate later. The compliance review that felt intrusive during onboarding is exactly what makes to day-to-day experience afterward. Because the bank already knows who you are, they do not need to keep asking. That structural difference between a bank that knows you and a platform that accepted you without looking is what determines how your banking infrastructure actually behaves when you need it to work. The way GloboBanks operates is built on the same logic. Before we introduce a client to any banking partner, we run our own preliminary due diligence. The purpose is not to add a layer of process, it is the only way to identify which institution actually fits the client's profile. The bank that makes sense for a founder with a Singapore entity and a USD revenue is a different institution than the bank that makes sense for a European real estate investor with estate planning consideration. Getting that matching right is the entire point. That process is also what allows us to negotiate the condition we deliver on behalf of clients. Is with private institution, clients introduced through our channel typically access entry deposit 80 to 90% below what a directly approach would require. Account maintenance fees in many cases are eliminated entirely. Remote openings runs 30 days or less in most cases. These are not conditions that appears on a bank's website because are conditions available through a relationship the bank has verified over years of introduction. They know that clients arriving through our channel of GloboBanks come with a profile that has already been reviewed. The link in the description goes to a free initial consultation. In that conversation, we look at where you currently hold your capital, what kind of transaction you typically run, and whether the setup you have would actually support your activity without interference when it matters. There is no charge for the consultation. If your current structure is right for your profile, we will tell you that. In the account you are relying on for a significant transfer was opened in 2 minutes by a platform that has since been sanctioned by a government antitrust authority. This is the conversation to have before you need the account to work. See you the next week.